YouTubers, Pastor Bob. Well, I hope you guys are having a blessed week. Man, I'll tell you what, you know what? I hate this time of year. Every 4 years, election time. I hate it. I can't stand it. I couldn't watch the presidential debate. I just couldn't bring myself to sit down there and put myself through it. And then this last one, the last vice presidential, I thought, no way. The hypocrisy of the whole thing just irritates me to death. And I want to talk about that for just a minute. You know, America is a land that is absolutely and completely divided. America is divided. You don't think so? We got what would be normally rational people going through the streets, burning down businesses, beating up old senior citizens. We guess the country is just coming unglued at the seams. And this is what Jesus said about that in Mark 3:22-26. He said, "And the scribes which came down from Jerusalem said, He has Beelzebub, and by the prince of devils he casts out devils. And he called them unto him, and said unto them in parables, How can Satan cast out Satan? If a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. And if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. And if Satan rises up against himself, he is divided and cannot stand, but has an end." So the Lord's very specific. Any country, household, anything, if it's divided against itself, it cannot stand and will not stand. Right now, we have a lot of things in this country that are forcing division on all the people. And I think as I was looking last week, I was just looking around thinking, what all is causing all this division? And the first one is the internet. Now, I don't know if you guys remember way back when I first got my first computer and got into my first social media, it was called MySpace. And I don't know if you guys remember that. You got to fix up your page exactly how you wanted it. It had stickers, stuff glowing. It was totally cool. But it was fun. You shared pictures and things. It was fun. And then Facebook came along, and Facebook started out that way, where you just kind of go on there and tell people what you're doing, what you're up to, showing some pictures of things you've been doing. But then all of a sudden, man, in about no time at all, everybody on Facebook hated each other. You would say something and you would upset like 10 relatives. You'd say something else, upset 5 people at work. Everybody was getting upset about everything. And right now, Facebook is nothing but political fights, religious fights, nothing but division. Nothing but division. And another thing that's causing nothing but division, of course, are our elections. I mean, you just watch the news and you just see we are land divided. People don't get it when it comes to elections. How many of you remember? Raise your hand. How many of you remember when Donald Trump was debating Hillary Clinton? And I remember Donald Trump looking into Hillary's face and saying to her, "Listen, if I'm elected, you're going to jail." You guys remember him saying that to her? If I'm elected, you're going to jail. Did Hillary wind up in jail? No. That's because when we're not looking, Bill and Hillary are probably going out to lunch with Donald and Ivana. They're probably the best of friends when the cameras aren't running. I've seen them at political dinners sitting at the same table. Listen, it's all a load of crap, this whole political spectrum in America. People, listen, Republican or Democrat, doesn't matter. Republican, Democrat. 2 wings of the same filthy bird. You know, George Bush, the first George Bush, and then later on his son that became president, I voted for both of them because I'm a good Republican. They both turned out to be 2 of the most evil men that have ever lived. 2 of the most evil men that have ever lived. I voted for both of them. Our top government officials, right? The people at the very top. All the congressmen, all the senators, the Supreme Court justices, all of them. Republican or Democrat, they're all members of the Illuminati. The bulk of all the top people in Washington are all members of the Illuminati, Republican and Democrat. And they could care less about you and me. We live in a land of diversion. Everything is a diversion. It's all a diversion to keep us fighting amongst ourselves. People, if we keep fighting amongst ourselves and we have a diversion to look at, we never notice what they're doing over there. We never look over there and say, what are you doing? Because it's all a diversion to keep us focused on us, on these little squabbles between us and on them. Look at wars. You know, my wife and I were just talking the other day about the homeless situation and the education situation in America. You know, I went to Desert Storm in 1991. I lived in Saudi Arabia for 6 months. So I went there in 1991, and guess what? We've never left since. We have had an occupation in the Middle East ever since then. 29 years. In that 29 years, we spent about $7 trillion on war. You know that $7 trillion we spent on war could have bought every homeless person in America a house. We could have gave a college education to every young person in America for that money. But nope. You know why? Because these politicians, Republican, Democrat, Illuminati, they all own heavily, they're heavily invested in, and they make billions off this war machine. The military-industrial complex. All the people, you know, every time we drop a bomb, one bomb cost $250,000. Some of the bigger laser-guided bombs, they can cost over $1 million a piece, every one of them. And we just drop them like they're nothing. Not only that, there's no real enemy. We don't have an enemy. They don't wear uniforms. Nothing, there's no real enemy. They're called a terrorist. Well, we got to go fight the terrorists. Who are they? Oh, well, we'll get there, and whoever shoots at us, we'll know that's them. People, you know, you don't even have to have a war in the Middle East to have a war. You don't. In the Middle East, all you have to do is take any Western military person. American soldier, British soldier, Canadian soldier, New Zealand soldier, Australian soldier. Makes no difference. You can go out anywhere in the Middle East. I don't care, any place you can find where there's nobody within 100 miles. You find that place in the Middle East. And then you take a couple of American soldiers, a couple of Canadian soldiers, and you stick them in that spot. People, it won't be 3 days that every jihadist in that region will find out they're there, and they'll come fight them to die. They will come there to die. So anyway, we have no real enemy. We've been fighting for 29 years, wasting everything, and nothing's changed. Nothing has changed except everything's gotten worse. Since Donald Trump, and I voted for Donald Trump, and I will vote for Donald Trump again because I think he is the lesser of all the other evils out there. But you know what? Things are getting worse. They're not getting better. We just had this pandemic, which I think was mostly false, but we lost 60% of the small businesses in America. Our unemployment's going to be upwards of 70-80%, and it's not coming down for a long time. This government's not helping you or me or anybody. Politicians don't help you, me, or anybody. Look at old Joe Biden. This guy is vice president, and he tells the people over there in the Ukraine area, yeah, I'll give you $2 billion in aid, but there's one little thing. I want you to hire my son. I want you to hire my son Hunter. Set him up in one of your companies, and I want you to give us $100,000 a month over the next 15 years, and I'll see that you get your couple of billion. He's on tape as doing that. He's as crooked as can be. Has he gone to jail for that? No, because they don't go to jail. and they're not going to go to jail. And there's not going to be thousands of indictments coming down. That's not how it works. They're in charge. They've sold their soul to Satan, and that's all there is to that. So listen. This is what it says in Psalms 118, verse 8 and 9. It's the middle passage in the Bible. And I got a feeling God put it in the middle to teach us something. It says, it's better to put your trust in the Lord than to put your confidence in man. Don't put your confidence in man. No man's going to save you. It's better to trust in the Lord than to put your confidence in princes. Confidence in princes. Princes back then were the government. They were the government. He said it's better to put your trust in the Lord than to put your confidence in princes. People, listen. Listen. You got to get this. Republican, Democrat. All the upper echelons are all members of the Illuminati. They're all filthy to the core, and they could care less about you. All right? That's it. This government could care less about you. They're going to keep on bringing division amongst us all, division and diversion, so they can do whatever they're going to do and get away with it. That's their plan. We're being played. Every one of us are being played. They don't care about us. They don't care if the city's burned. Look at these these Democratic governors, like Gavin Newsom here in California, the governor in Oregon and Washington. Their cities get burned down, and now they're asking the government to help pay for the buildings that they let burn. I mean, these people are just, I'm trying to think of a word for them, and I don't even have a word for them. I know they're absolutely mentally incompetent to do what they're doing. But anyway, people were being played. I will vote, and I'll vote for the lesser of all evils. And as far as I'm concerned, from what I can see, out of all the people that are running, Donald Trump is the lesser of all evils. And the reason I say that is because he's against abortion. He's for American jobs. I think he's the best guy to try to bring our economy back. He's the lesser of all evils, and that's why I'll vote for him. But people, we are being played. Don't trust the government. We're being played. Anyway, I just want to give you something to think about. That's Pastor Bob's opinion on the 2020 elections. By the way, I got my ballots too. I got my 2 ballots, and they want me to mail them in. They don't want me to show up. That right there is fishy. Anyway, heaven or hell you choose. Just remember, once you take your last breath, it's a done deal.